Hey there, I'm Layne Johnson. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm painting some water and reflections. Come take a look. Painting water and reflections, it's something that's hard to do. Sometimes looks like it's easy, but it's really easier when it's what you're seeing reflected is very far away. And then it becomes more a mirror, somewhat. It gets more difficult when your water starts getting closer towards you. And when you start seeing actually is not just something that's in the background that's mirroring. A lot of times what's in the background will mirror, but it's not going to be in the water because the line that it mirrors from is too far back. What you'll often see is, like if the horizon line's right here, you'll see this bank of trees back in the background flip down, and you'll see them being mirrored in this part of the water. This darkness is coming from actually something that's not there yet. There's going to be more foliage along the bank of this creek that's going to reflect, and it'll reflect from that point. In other words, where that point is, that's where it will reflect from. So same thing, this tree over here will reflect from this point, not this point. So it does get kind of complicated when you're doing reflections. The closer they get, you're going to not see things here, you're going to see things up here. So if you think about the reflection, if the water's close to you, then you're going to be seeing that, which may be dark. It just depends on what it is. So if I ever do a new course about reflections, then I'll go way deeper into that to show you how to paint that. And a lot of times, like right here, I'm doing the water, knowing that I'm going to end up painting other things on top, because I always paint from back to front. And so we'll get the water done, even though there may be grasses that come up into this uh, overlapping what's here. Same thing the way I do a tree, I'll always paint what's in the background, and I'll end up painting into the tree, then paint up, back up over into the areas where the foliage goes along the edge. So I do that, and then as you step forward, just keep coming forward and coming forward. And again, going back and forth between textures, you'll get really deep, very unique textures that
How does
are.
that apply to water?
Water is different. Like I said, it's different again. Some things like this, these are blue ponds in the background. You'll never see that reflection because where they are, if it were going to reflect, it'd be reflecting right here. So the grasses are covering it over. You can't see the reflection. If you're on the other side of this grass and there was water there, you would see a reflection of the blue. But again, how it applies to water is I still have to do, there's more of these grasses here, they're going to come out a little bit over here. And then I've got to reflect this darkness here into this area here. So you just do one at a time to get kind of what you want. And then sometimes you have to go back and forth to get the end result. Very often you'll see reflections in real life. You'll see like what's reflecting here, maybe like this here, except the dark may be just a little tiny bit lighter. And then also the light may be a little tiny bit darker and less intense. So those are the way, for whatever reason, reflections work. And that's the way your eyes see it in real life. It's not necessarily what you see in photography. So that's where you have to, the knowledge of what a reflection is very useful when you're painting a painting, because sometimes photographs don't tell you the truth. And you may go, why is it so perfect looking? And when a photograph maybe have a filter on it or all sorts of things done to it. And, or nowadays with people taking pictures with phones and things, they take really great pictures. They also, the phone camera can, again, give you brighter colors than are really there. It can give you more detail than your eye really sees. If you do it in the right way, you can get detail everywhere. That's not the way our eyes see. So you really have to use the knowledge, even if of a photograph or something, you have to use your knowledge of, say, a reflection so that you can depict a proper reflection. And so that whenever you look at a painting and you think, there's something on this that doesn't look quite right, that's something that's not quite, there's something that's not quite right. basically. Sometimes it's perspective. If you have buildings in there, sometimes it's texture. Let's say I was looking at a painting I still have it here, and I was trying to describe to you, Sandra, that look in the background here. I put all this crazy physical texture in the shadow area. I would never do that now because that physical texture is something that's going to say, "Hey, look at me." And if it's in an area that you don't want it doing that, then that's bad.
So do you usually have any kind of textures in the water when you're painting?
Oh, yes, you do. If you've got moving water, if you've got like waterfalls and things like that, very often I'll add texture to these punchy places where splashes are and things like that. Or if you've got surf that you're painting, very often you'll have texture and past texture in the painting. But in smooth water in general, not. I do enjoy painting a lot of this kind of things because I get a chance to paint a little more impressionistically and then hold the background so it doesn't jump out. Uh, because I trust the photograph of this scene again, you can see details like crazy, but I don't want to show all that because it takes the attention away from my beautiful tree that I'm painting. I'm sure there's still lots more texture. There's more detail in this tree to do, but I want to be concerned about getting all the right values in place to begin with. And then I will start working on the actual colors because some of these greens may be a little bit too bright and I may tone them down or they may need more stronger highlights in places. Again, I don't want to get stuck in this spot trying to do that. I'd rather get everything blocked in. And believe it or not, there's a lot more going to happen on this painting, and hopefully we'll show it. This painting will have bluebonnets in it. I haven't painted a bluebonnet painting in quite a while, actually. So this painting, the scene took place in May in the hill country, and it was a really beautiful scene. I'd been to this exact location 1 month earlier, and it was totally foggy, and I painted this scene. So I've already done painting of this location, but the bluebonnets then were just starting to appear. In this scene, you're going to see them; they're going to really be there, and it's going to be more of a clear scene, not a foggy scene. So either way, I love painting atmosphere, and it helps you give a painting. It helps to give a painting real depth. So it's always fun to do that. Hey there, I just wanted to pop in here for a moment and invite you to register to watch my free workshop, Secrets to Painting Beautiful, Realistic Landscapes. You can find the link in the description below this video. See, I'm painting into this grass right now, and knowing full well that I'm likely to go painting grass back out over this. But the reason why I always paint into something is so that you don't have basically an outline. For example, if I was doing this tree up here, if I paint just right to the edge of things, then I go back to the edge of that, and you end up like with a little halo. Same thing can happen on water. You want to, make sure that what's behind this grass that comes up after this is the right value. And even then, sometimes uh, you're going to have to adjust it to be a little bit darker in the same manner that you paint sky holes. Some of these values are actually darker than if you were to take that color right there and put it over, say, like over here, it would be a lot darker. But because I've painted it a little bit darker in the scene, it reads as good. I don't know why it's like that, but it's something that's real. And as you can see, there's not a lot of texture that I'm painting here. I'm just painting into what's already there. And again, knowing that I'm going to paint grasses coming up over this, maybe some grasses that go out like that. Now, over here, you will have to deal with the reflection because if I paint some more of this dark, say going out right over here, then that will reflect here. This will reflect from this point. So at this point, if I paint out this point here, that's the point where it will reflect from. And so it was something at this point on the plane. You have a piece of glass, let's say, on this water, and from that point would be right here. This point here would be a little bit closer, and that's the points where they will reflect from. Same thing back here. That's even further. It'll reflect there, and that's not even talking about any kind of a distortion you get from water that's moving a little bit with wind or ripples or things like that. So that's why I think it's safe to go with something a little more impressionistic. So, and water is one of those things that if you do it well, it's great. If you do it badly, it's not so great. So
So what's the key to making water look like water?
pans to look like water. I think one of the things is you can always see something on the surface of water usually. It might be like a little bubble popping, it might be debris on the water, leaves, moss, whatever on the surface of water. And you paint them like little dots of things or a stick that's going to have a reflection in the water. Let's say a stick is coming out right here at an angle like that. That means the reflection is going to come like this. And again, as the closer that thing's to you, you're going to start seeing the more underside of the stick as opposed to just a stick that's out here. It'd be more a pure reflection. So these are the kind of details you can paint. But you have to be careful because you can overdo it and chase those details and forget you've got the whole painting to think of. Those details can overwhelm the focal point. So make sure your details work for your focal point, not against it. See, this reflection is going to go into this, and you've already got these colors there, so I don't need to worry about that so much. Yeah. Another good example, I mentioned about detail in water. And so one thing you'll see is water edges and definition sometimes is broken up or blurry or fuzzy sometimes. You do really see that. For example, you see very crisply these edges here. Down here, they may be much more broken up and they may be distorted too. So what happens sometimes is wind or say a shallow area where it makes the surface different. And so as water reflects, it reflects sometimes from over there, sometimes from over there. So you get that's what ripples in water kind of are. So moving water in a creek, this is a creek, so it is moving water, but it's slow moving. You will get some distortions, and that's kind of fun to paint. The hard part is figuring out what it's doing. So there you go. Thanks for joining me in my studio. If you enjoyed this video, you'll also probably enjoy watching the videos I've linked on the screen. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you're ready for more in-depth lessons, consider enrolling on one of my online courses where I teach classical painting techniques for landscape painters. You can find all of my classes at laynejohnson.com or click on the link in the description below.